of the railway. We come across a huge amount of stories that producers want to make into a film. Every once in a while, a story crosses our desks that touches us emotionally and dramatically, and we feel absolutely deserves to get made. The Railwayman is one such story. Based on a book by Eric Lomax, this is at times a harrowing story and tragic, but equally is hugely inspirational as it deals with the subject of redemption and ultimately forgiveness. And on behalf of everybody at Lionsgate, we are enormously proud to be involved and associated with the making of this film. And I wanted to take the opportunity to thank and congratulate our colleagues and partners in the film, the producers, Andy Patterson, Bill Curbishley, Chris Brown, the writer Frank Cottrell-Boyce, and the director Jonathan Topinski, and our wonderful cast for making a film that is so powerful and that we believe will really, truly resonate with you this evening, as well as with the British public when we release the film on January the 1st. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the stage the producers, Bill Curbishley, the writer Frank Cottrell-Boyce, producer Andy Patterson, and the director Jonathan Topinski.
I'd like to first thank you and Lorna and everybody at Lionsgate for giving us the financial support, the artistic support, and the complete freedom to make the sort of film that we wanted to make. The journey of this film starts for me some 15 years ago. My daughter was 2 years of age, my son had just been born. They're now sitting in the audience at 17 and 15 years of age. I can't believe this, and I jokingly used to refer to them as the railway children. That's all they ever heard from me was this film that was going to be made. We would make it, and now we're here tonight and it is made. I read the book at the urging of a friend of mine who's in the audience tonight. On finishing the book, I became obsessed with locating the writer, which I did through the publisher. I went down to Berwick-on-Tweed and I met with Eric Lomax and his wife Patty. They were on the verge of talking to a Canadian company about film rights. But I managed to persuade them, or I learned that I did, the next day they phoned me and said they were willing to give me the film rights. What followed on then was I adopted the writer, Frank Cottrell-Boyce, and and my partner Andy Patterson in this film. And I must say it was with their determination that this film has finally been made. There are many themes in this film, but the overlying themes make you leave this theatre, I hope, with lots of questions and maybe struggling to find the answers. I found that Eric Lomax was an incredibly unique spiritual man, something like a person like I'd never really met before, and I became obsessed with having to make this film. The first script was very different from what we've ended up with today. I'm very proud of what we've ended up with. I think it's a film that can stand alone in the genre in which it sits. There are many military people here tonight, and I'd really like to say to them that this is not only Eric's story. I met with some of the survivors from the camps and from the Boer Railroad tonight. The thing that struck me about all of them was their sense of humour and just how fantastic they were as people. And I want to thank you for the things that we've got in our life today that we've got by virtue of your sacrifice and your courage. Thank you. You're going to be the toughest audience we ever have to face, because the people here from the Royal Signals, including Jim and Gavin, who just got back from Afghanistan.
Oh yeah. Thank you, and thank you, Bill.
And then here he stood with Eric as well, which is extraordinary. I spent the evening talking to Fergus, who was doing magic tricks for me, and listening to Bill singing Are You Lonesome Tonight? Which is an extraordinary thing to have been to such a dark place and be here today doing such happy things. And I think that is what Eric has given the world, a story that says that you can go to the darkest place and find a way out and find a way to be happy. And that's really what this film is about. It took a long time to make this film. In some ways that was frustrating, but in other ways it was a fantastic privilege for us to have spent so long with Eric and to have had him in our lives for so long, and for our lives to have touched so closely sometimes. I just want to share one thing with you. Bill shared the thing about his daughters. When on our very first trip to Edinburgh with Eric was a terrible day in my life. It was the day that I found out that my little daughter was very ill, and so that sort of burned into my mind that day. And in the ups and downs of the film, there was a few years when we didn't see Eric at all, and then went back to his house when we kind of rebooted, we kind of got the film going into production. And the first thing that Eric said when he answered the door was, "How is Kiara?" And I was happy to say that she's fantastically well and here with me tonight as a very bonny, very, very seriously well girl, and I'm so pleased that you're here with me tonight.
We're going to have to cut this a bit shorter. We have just, tonight is a joint venture with the Royal Signals. It's a benefit for the Royal Signals Benevolent Fund. So as I'm a producer, I'm going to say, empty your pockets, make a donation to the fund, because this is Eric's old regiment and there's some wonderful people. We have just come from a gathering with some of the men from the railway, extraordinary stories. And I'm going to say some of the names because they're incredible. Bill Moylan was one of the first men on the railway. Dr. Bill Franklin is 101, he's still working as a doctor. Eric Hagen was at Hintock, which is one of the places we shot. Cliff Burgess worked on the one-road viaduct, which again you'll see at the end of the film. Anthony Lucas was in the Chunkai camp, which was next to Eric's. Tom McKee, one of the very good people to work on the railway from the very beginning to the very end. Roy Massey, Morris Naylor, who was at the Canterbury Bridge camp, and I think most moving first night, Jim Crossan, who was actually a witness to some of the events that we're going to see in about 45 minutes. An incredible group of men. We are so honoured to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. It's a great honour to be here tonight, and a great thrill for all of us to be presenting the Railway Man to you. For me, having lived in England for a long time, it's especially pleasing to be at a premiere like this and for such a special film about an incredible story. But really tonight is about two extraordinary lives, that of Eric and Candy Lomax. And my great hope is that the film you're about to see does honours their story and honours the experiences that they went through and so generously and openly shared with us. And one of the great highlights of making the film was to actually be able to engage and become friends with them, and in a sense, for them to take us into their lives and hope and allow us to represent them on film. Which brings me to the next stage, which is just to introduce the cast that we have with us tonight. I'd just like you to put your hands together for, first of all, Tanro Ishida. to Paddy Lomax, who is accompanied by Colin Firth. I'd also just like to acknowledge just a couple of people who aren't here today, and that is the various crews that we had in 3 countries around the world in making this film, all of whom whose work and talent you'll see in a minute. Also, I'd like to hand you over now to Patty, who I think wants to say a couple of words.
Good evening, it's some night. I just wanted to say very quickly that hearing Jonathan speak reminds me that just over 2 weeks ago I was in Australia and I took with me a poppy wreath as I was flying out on Remembrance Weekend, and I intended, with permission, just to quietly lay this wreath on the Australian National War Memorial.